Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
We do what has to be done, and we are right now. Please keep yourself and your family as safe as possible and pray. Pray for a healing of this nation and the world. Here comes Kate Smith. God bless America on this Wednesday, April 8th. Morning, we need a patriot. Boy, do we need a patriot with a Pledge of Allegiance. And a good morning to you on this Wednesday, April the 8th. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and of course we thank some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And our friends at Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance by a patriot. Good morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wait a minute. I think I know this voice. Is this Abby?
Yes.
You couldn't fool this old man's ears. It is a joy to hear from you. How have you been?
I've been pretty good.
Now, I hate this.
Cool.
Well, this is really rude of me to ask you this, but how old were you when you started doing the pledge on my program?
I was in kindergarten, so I think I was around like 5 or 6.
Okay, now this is also very rude, but what are we looking at as a total amount of birthdays right now?
Well, I'm 16 now.
Oh, my. Do you realize how old you made me feel and how much all of a sudden in a second all the gray hair grew even further? My goodness sakes, you are a sweet young lady, and God bless you and your family. Stay safe, stay well, and thank you so much, Abby, for calling in.
Anytime.
Oh, my goodness. Love to hear from her. Thank you. That's a beautiful young lady. Absolutely a great young lady. Right now, it's time to go to the weather forecast, brought to you by our friends. I got all discombobulated. It was so nice talking to her. K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Roger and the crew are there with the best tools and equipment. And after the day yesterday, I can bet you they are busy. Everybody's outside saying, come on, spring. They love that weather. They've got all the power rakes, all the garden and lawn equipment. They got all the rototillers for you to dig up. Oh, boy, you can get ready for spring and summer right by K&R Rental at on the Burley Paul Highway. They've got all the long and short-term rental on tools you need. Give them a call, 678-3122. Right now, here's Scotty with the weather.
Catching a pretty nice break in the weather. Good morning with your 7th the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron. For today, going to be patchy fog this morning, burning off this afternoon for sunny skies, a high of 65. Clear for tonight with a low of 33. Tomorrow is going to be beautiful. Sunshine and 70. For tomorrow night, clear with a low of 37. Friday, sunny and a high of 68. Friday night, mostly clear with a low of 40. Then for Saturday, Sunshine, then sunny, a little bit breezy, and a high of 61. That's your 7 at the Ranch weather forecast. Have an amazing day.
Oh, Scott Man, thank you very much. 41 degrees outside right now, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Not sure what you need for tools and equipment? No problem. Just give them a call on the landline. They'll help you. 678-3122, K&R Rental. Want to also give a great big shout out to some folks that have been there for a long, long time on my program, and I absolutely admire and respect them, and that's Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They get there at 7:30 in the morning, stay till 5, Monday through Friday, and they have such an experienced staff to do all the jobs for you with your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. I urge you, call them or stop in at 678-0459. Again, they're located at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The best. Ramsey Heating and Electric, serving you. Well, a good morning, caller. How are you?
Good morning to you.
Yes, sir.
Yesterday morning, I had mentioned that I felt like most of the blame was put on this COVID-19, all these deaths. And it was ironic that now the doctors have come up with the conclusion that most of these, I shouldn't say most, but a good portion of these elderly people that have come down with this had outlying conditions.
Oh, absolutely.
Have you know any more about that?
Oh, well, that was from the get-go. It's not innovative new news. That was said from the very beginning that their concerns, the medical and doctors' concerns, were that the coronavirus would be much more deadly and dangerous for someone with diabetes, kidney conditions, or perhaps heart problems, that type of thing. And it was proven to be true. And I am not at all shocked that they are coming out and confirming and solidifying that.
Well, I'm glad they did, because we're scaring the heck out of people by the amount of deaths that there is related to this.
Absolutely.
During the winter, many deaths are caused by just influenza.
Well, the thing is, though, Keith, I'm not going to minimize and I'm not going to try to categorize. I think you can respect this. A death, any death, is extremely sad, sorrowful, and very meaningful. And whether it's flu-related because of various strains of the flu, or if it's related to the coronavirus, or if it's absolutely away from anything to do with those strains, it might be heart, diabetes, whatever. I don't really... I hate to say it this way, but I don't care how they categorize it, because it's a shameful and very sorrowful thing.
Well, and I agree with you, but at the same time, I don't think sensationalism at this time is part of our getting better.
I agree with you there. I think the media, and I'll be the first to jump in and get a whip and absolutely start whipping on them, has been overboard on their absolute news coverage of fear-mongering to help the ratings. I'm looking at some of these people on CNN and MSNBC. I mean, it's pathetic. This Mika Brzezinski that's on with the Morning Joe program on MSNBC, she absolutely doesn't deserve a job as a dog catcher. She is pathetic.
You're absolutely right, Zeb. And I want to commend you on the fact that you tell it the way it is, always.
Well, I appreciate that.
I always respect you for that.
Keith, I appreciate that, because there's no other way. I mean, there's some talk show hosts around the country that try to flavor, if you will, their programs and create a fervor of a pitch of untruth. Boy, that was nice. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you what it is. Right now, in the latest news that we have from the state of Idaho, there are 1,213 13 cases of coronavirus, and they are attributing to the coronavirus, even though I know some are not, all in a sole meaning of coronavirus. Many of these had the underlying problems, 15 deaths. Now, you know and I know that there were some heart conditions and other underlying problems with these people here in the state of Idaho.
Well, thank you very much for making it perfectly clear.
Now go back and give your wife, Nancy, a great big kiss. Good morning and have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Bye. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I am not going... Some of the absolute garbage, and it is garbage, that's being put out in newspapers and on MSNBC and CNN. I mean, some of these people that call themselves journalists, call themselves talk show hosts, call themselves whatever they want to call themselves. I got some special names I can't say on the air, that are absolutely trying to be theatrical on what really is occurring. And all you and I need really are the hardcore facts. We don't need it to be dressed up in a Sunday suit. We don't need it to look like the dessert after a big meal. We just need the hard, cold facts. Don't forget our friends at Dino's Septic Service. Septic tank pumping and liquid waste removal, sewer and sink drain lines clean. They do it all for you. And they've expanded their business. I mean, whoa, I've been over there a couple of times. I was over there at Christmas time, as a matter of fact. And believe me, they have great backhoe services and septic tank and drain fields installed, septic inspections, all of this and more. Just please call them. Call them. They're so nice and fast, fair-friendly service. Number to call, 436-6526 or 678-1638. And that is Dino's Septic Service with the big truck that says, smells cargo on the way. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, Zeb, when is the governor going to be on?
He is going to be on. He's supposed to call me at 9:30 this morning.
Okay, I got to go to Salt Lake and get a load of freight, but I don't know if I'm going to be any close enough to hear.
Well, I hope so.
I'd like to talk to him. Go ahead.
No, I hope so, but if not, now what we're going to do, and I'm glad you called in on this, Randy, because I'm going to give a semblance of how it's going to run. And it's going to be this way. We're going to direct a lot of questions to the governor, primarily about the coronavirus and what's happening here in the state of Idaho. And then we're also going to ask about going back to work. We're going to go also into the areas of the dangers of not going back to a quote-unquote normal as soon as possible. We're going to be talking about, the neighboring states. What is he doing to consult and work with our border states? We're going to be talking about education being in total array. I've got a lot of topics to get into, and unfortunately, a very short time of only 19 minutes. I apologize for that, but it's the best I could do.
No, it's excellent. It's better than anybody else is doing, and I know. I've checked. I can tell you I know, and I don't want to sound arrogant, but we need to be able to tap his ears because he is not available if you call his office. He's not talking to the people. They want you to worry about coronavirus, but they don't want you to be worried about the economy. Well, everybody I talk to is scared to death about what's being done to our economy. And this morning I heard a report that he was thinking about extending this, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just telling you, man, I just don't. If you go, I travel all across southern Idaho, from Glens Ferry to Pocatello, Ketchum down to Twin. And I mean, I'm busy, but I talk to people because I'm a talkative guy. And I ask them, and one person ever that I've ran into, business owners, workers, said, I'm not worried about the virus. I'm worried about what's going to happen to my job, my business.
Yeah.
And just like I said last week, the farmer was walking around. He says, they sent my Mexicans back and the water's going to be turned on, and he says nobody's drinking beer, and we won't have a beer contract next year. And then if the school lunch program here in Idaho, if the milk goes to the school lunch program and the school lunch is closed, they're dumping milk in Wisconsin right now, and you would know that because your family lives there.
Yep.
Are they going to do the same here?
Well, the whole thing boils down to we've got a major problem of it's okay for those supposedly in charge to say this is what we're doing, this is what we're going to do, but there's a human effect that they seem to be looking over and not really understanding. You've very succinctly pointed out some of those issues. I compliment you on the way you said that. But there's so much more. I mean, wait a minute, we can't talk. Whoa, Randy, we can't talk over each other. The one thing I want to remind everybody is the restaurant business, for instance. The trickle-down effect right to the farmer and rancher is enormous, and all the people in between from the field to the table are being hurt, and we've got to make sure that we make some allowances very soon to get people back to work.
Right, it's just got to happen. I'm sorry, this thing is it's got to end. I'm hoping he somehow releases this. You know, if people want to go to church on Sunday, they can. If they want to be careful, they can. If you're afraid, stay home. But it's just like in Twin, there has been, and I know it's true, where they were monitoring health salons, and then they were, literally, it was like Gestapo, right here in the city of Twin, they were saying, are you guys in there doing nails or hair? You can't do that. Well, I'm going to tell you, if the person doing it and the person receiving the service agree to do it, they're still adults.
Well, and the thing is, too, it can be done in a very, I'm not trying to be a Star Wars type person, but wear a mask, take all the precautions, do everything. I see that business, like you just said, a nail salon or a barber shop, or why are they any different than a congregating of a whole bunch of people in a hardware store or a pharmacy? I mean, come on, let's get real here.
Or the grocery store. Like I may have said this yesterday, for some reason the Costco in Boise over the weekend was so packed on a Saturday that, and Boise Costco is it's always just buried.
Yeah.
And it was that way again Saturday, and nobody was going to do anything, nobody could do anything, and the people that were at the store couldn't have cared less about the thing.
Yep.
See, if you're afraid, stay home. If you're not, go out. But you can't. It's just like I know of one beauty salon. They're doing it at their home, and they got the blinds pulled because they're afraid somebody's going to be, walking down the street, and they're going to turn them in. What kind of a deal is that where we turn each other in?
Yeah, it's a Gestapo-type nation. I don't like it at all. Randy, you drive carefully to Salt Lake City, my friend. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I want to remind and he brought up some really good points. What are your thoughts on that? I just do not understand, and I said this last week at great length, how they can allow a certain business to stay open and have a congregate of a multitude of people coming in the door. I gave you already some examples. And then on the other side of the coin, look at I'll say like a jewelry store that maybe gets 1 or 2 or 3 people per hour in there, and yet the jewelry store is deemed non-essential. Close down your doors. I don't like this. If we all use the same precautions and all use the mask and or health observances, what makes one more essential than the other? Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget Magic Valley Irrigation with Jeff and the crew. Oh, they are busy right now. Let me tell you, they appreciate all the business they've had at Magic Valley Irrigation, and they look forward to serving you for whatever your needs are this year. They've got expert people over there, and all you need to do is get on the landline and give them a call for help. 678-3101. Oh, almost choked to death. And 431-3101. You better believe it. Healy Arc Welding, pumps, manufacturing, wheel line elbows, so much more. Give them a call, Jeff and the crew at Magic Valley Irrigation, serving you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, to add to what was said this morning is the confusion that's going on within the distribution of products within this country because of the shutdowns in one place that add burden or overproduction and lack of, and then that redistribution has to be shuffled back to our grocery stores to those people.
Yeah. I'm very concerned. I said on the radio yesterday, and give me your thoughts on this, Earl. I said on the radio yesterday that my wife and I have sat down and we said that we are going to adhere to the stay-at-home, not go anywhere, not do anything until probably pretty close to the end of this month. At the end of this month, all bets are off. I mean, we already, as many people do, have cabin fever, and we need to get out. And we're both up in age to the point where I don't think I want to spend the rest of my life peeking out the window at the rest of the world and wondering how it is. I'm not going to live like that. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'll get back to what I was saying. I'd like to hear something from somebody that's out there in the trucking industry, because those guys are packing the burden and the confusion of what's going on today to try to get product to people where it can be distributed.
Amen. And I don't think they get enough praise right now. I absolutely appreciate that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put a plea out for anybody that's in the trucking business to call us and let us know what the status is right now as far as you're concerned. Earl the Mountain Man,
That's got to be hell on them, Zeb.
Absolutely. Well, quite frankly, it's been hell for a lot of people. Earl, God bless you up on the mountain. Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeb.
All right, sir. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There's another aspect of this coronavirus for any state, quite frankly, that's not really being discussed at all, unless you've heard something I haven't heard, and that is the effect on tourism. The effect on people taking a vacation. The effect of people not going to Disney World or Disneyland or to the Grand Canyon or to Yellowstone or wherever, or entering our beautiful state of Idaho and enjoying the state of Idaho. Tourism is something that you can't turn on and off as a spigot. People are absolutely afraid of where their next paycheck is coming from, if at all. People are afraid of trying to take care of their family, run their business. There's a lot of SBA loans out there right now that really you got to be a professor in loanology to understand all the verbiage. But people are not going to be doing any traveling, and tourism is a big part of our economy. And the underlying businesses connected to it, the campers, the camp equipment, all the cars, the vans. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And that's something that absolutely concerns me. We're not going to be able, underline the word not, and I'm not going to buy anything that anybody says on this program that it's going to be easy. We're not going to be able to turn the economy back on like a spigot. Your thoughts, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Metacassia Sales. Hello, Zach. Now, I got to tell you, when Abby called a few moments ago, I'll tell you what, that was nostalgic for me, because she said she started when she was 5 years old. Oh, my. Did you hear that, Deanne? And now Abby's 16. My goodness, we're getting old, dear. Metacassia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. And I'm telling you, they are great. You'll never be disappointed by going in there. They've got all your flooring needs, roofing material, windows. Holy moly, they got windows, siding, doors, everything right now. Plus, if you buy $200 worth of carpeting, free pad. Better check it out. Zach and the crew, Metacassia Sales in Burley, 878-2091. All right, your turn. Give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There's something else I'm really worried about, and it goes in conjunction with what I'm going to be doing at 10:30 this morning. And I make no bones about it, never will make an apology for having it, and I'm going to stand behind the idea of having an Easter church service, basically with a talk about Easter, talk about the resurrection and our Lord Jesus, right here on my radio program at 10:30 this morning with Pastor Paul Thompson. I'm not going to back up from anybody complaining about it. That doesn't mean anything to me. We're just going to do it and enjoy it because, very unfortunately, the churches probably will not get a chance to celebrate Easter. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again. You know, doing things in order will help a lot. Like, for instance, this morning, yesterday, my eye doctor's office called me and reminded me that I have an appointment at 9:30 this morning. And what they said to do is to drive up in front of the doctor's office and call them on the phone to let them know I'm there. And then as soon as the doctor's available, they'll come out and get me.
Yeah.
Now, they don't want anybody in their waiting room. I think this is an orderly way of doing things. What do you think about that?
Oh, no, I agree with you totally, and I said many, many times on the air, and I know you've heard me, there's got to be a semblance of getting back to work with caution and using the proper attitudes on perhaps face masks and limiting the amount of people in a certain area at a certain time. Absolutely concur with everything you said, but it's not being done. I do not, and I will not buy this incompetency, I think, of thinking that some business is not termed essential and some businesses are. You tell the non-essential business owner by forcing him or coercing him to close his doors that he's not essential, that poor man or woman is absolutely scrounging trying to figure out how to make a living. How dare we or anyone tell them they're non-essential?
I think common sense has got to take over this thing because it just isn't working this way. They're picking and choosing who will be open and who won't. And I don't like that. It's very communistic, and I want it to come to a stop.
Well, I think what would be a lot better, Keith, and maybe you don't agree with this, but what would be a lot better is for the governor, excuse me, and a little bit of a cough this morning, hay fever time, unfortunately, the governor to issue standard rules of business procedure and leave the businesses open. Wouldn't that be easier? Thou shalt wear a mask. Thou shalt do this. I would much rather have those thou shalts in a business to stay open than closing them.
Well, I haven't had one person or organization offer to give me a mask. I don't even know where I can get one.
Well, make your own. Make your own. You know, I mean, I wear a bandana probably 90% of the time. And just like the James gang, pull it up over your nose and mouth and go about your business. You probably won't get arrested for bank robbery, but you're probably going to make more of a security for your health. Okay? That's easy. It's easy. Just so you're not directly breathing on somebody. Wear gloves. Wear gloves. How much more protected can you be? And you don't have to have all the interaction. You don't have to be shaking hands or going up to people for a fist pump or anything. Stay away. Just say, hey, Jack, back off a little bit. I'm staying healthy. We could do it.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Bell.
Okay. Yes.
Good advice.
I'll tell you what, next time you're going to have to pay for that assessment. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I just don't see why. Come on, somebody call and let me know why there can't be bona fide precautions and still keep working. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb. My thing with this, traveling around, is I see a lot of hardworking people hurt by this because of, dairies are dumping their milk. In our area, that's a pretty big thing.
Yes, it is.
Dairies are dumping their milk. That means if that milk isn't getting processed, it's going to hit us on the store shelves, and the price is going to jump like you wouldn't believe.
Yep.
Our beef producers, our cattlemen, how long have they been being gouged and taken advantage of for how long?
Yep.
And now our crops are, what's going to happen when it comes down to the canning of our food, so we have canned food in the stores.
Riley, stop right there. Let me say something to you that you really brought up some excellent points. I use this person, and I don't have a lot of respect for this one particular person I had on the air about 3-4 months ago. I'm not even going to mention his name because he's not welcome back on my show. He's supposedly a guest on many nationwide talk shows. And he made the statement on my program that one day, I don't know if you were listening or not, that United States agriculture is not necessary and that we could import our food and it would be easier on everybody. And this is a classic case right now of what's happening with this coronavirus and what's happened with the fuel embargoes a couple of years ago. That we're just awful lucky that God has blessed us with the best farmers and ranchers in the world to make our own food supply. Can you imagine how devastating it would be right now? Right now, without having any food supply of our own, and we would have to import everything?
Well, buddy, sit back and put on your seatbelt because that's what's coming. That's what I'm getting at. They're going to get us one way or another, or they're going to try like hell to get us one way or another. And what I mean by they, that's the communist, socialist left. They're going to try really hard. And people are taking advantage of this to take away our freedoms left and right. I agree we need to be careful. I agree we need to take care of ourselves and make sure we don't get sick, whether it's from this COVID-19, the flu, or whatever. We need to take care of ourselves so we can grow as a nation. And it's really disheartening to me to see that our cattlemen and our milk producers in our area, well, not just our area, our nation, are getting hurt. Yep. And that's just the ones I know about.
I agree.
I don't know what's going on with the wheat side. I don't know what's going on with the peas and beans. I don't know what's going on with the bread. But I do know if we're not careful and we don't come together as a nation and say, look, we've had enough of this. We have to get back to work. We have to get back strong. We'll take care of ourselves. We'll watch out for ourselves. We'll make sure we'll do the best we can to quarantine the sick and take care of them. But we have to get back to work or we're all in a lot of trouble.
Very well stated, as always, Riley. I appreciate your call. God bless you, young man. Have a great day. Stay safe. Thank you very much.
I will, and you stay safe, too.
All right, buddy. Thank you. This is an issue that is being brought up by us on the radio, but I haven't heard Dr. Fauci or Dr. Birx or anybody else on these press conferences really give a stepladder conversation, if you will, as to step one, the farmers out in the field, step two, the distributors, etc., all the way to the plate. We've got a real concern in agriculture right now. We've got a real concern for our food supply to keep these folks in business and thriving and keep the chain of transportation going and thriving to get the produce to the various markets and then sale to the people. And I'm very concerned that some of these doctors and some of these elitists really don't understand, underline that, understand the problems that we're really incurring. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi. I can talk for the farmers. I'll tell you what, we are the most blessed country on earth. And the farmers are the ones that make it the blessing.
Amen.
And we should never stab them in the back. And I know because I'm married to one, and I was a farmer's daughter, and we love our industry. And where in the world are you ever going to go for as good of food and as inexpensive as food in this whole planet?
Yeah, and I want to add something to that as a caveat, and I don't know your thinking on this, but I think you're going to go right along with me, is that I think even more so now, today, than ever before, we need to have the country of origin labeling, the cool effect. I want to know where my food is coming from. I want to know where it was processed and bottled or boxed, and I only want to buy USA.
Well, when I go shopping, I look on the labels to see where it comes from, and we should. Although there are things that it's great that we can have them imported, but they have to go abide our, when they come across the border, they have to have abided by all of the American rules. And that's what we do at the border. We check.
Well, I have always on this program, and for my entirety in broadcasting since 1969, have been absolutely a supporter of all agriculture, and I will never weaken, and I will never be coerced to be any different. Chris, God bless you for your call, and I hope your family stays well.
Our agriculture going because we're so fortunate.
That's right. Thank you. Wonderful lady right there. I always enjoy visiting with her. Caller, would you just give me 30 seconds? I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody, too, about Barry Equipment and Rental. Talked to Wild Bill Cody the other day. I'll tell you what, old Buffalo Bill Cody over there at the Burley location at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. He was telling us all about their new inventory, all the Bobcats, all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators, for all the jobs, lifting, digging, pushing, carrying, grading, leveling, you name it, they've got the equipment for you. Right now it's the springtime, and they know you want to get outside and get things done. Barry Equipment Rental at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Napa location for the best of folks working for you, Barry Equipment and Rental. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
So I think we have a trucking company. Everything we do is considered essential, and we really haven't had any problem going anywhere. I have talked to some people. There's some things now that the state of Washington is saying you don't need to do that. You can do that later, kind of thing. But around here, in the Intermountain area, I think that all the trucks are running. Everyone's working.
Let me ask you while you're on the phone here, don't go away. What about the amenities, the social amenities for the truckers as far as finding rest areas, finding restaurants open so they can pull their big rigs in and get a meal? What about that as far as access is concerned?
Well, that's been kind of a struggle. You see quite a few fast food places now say truckers welcome because that is a problem. We just do regional hauling, and I just tell all my drivers, whatever you do, stay out of truck stops.
Okay.
Pack your food and stay out of truck stops because I think we damage more equipment in truck stops than we do on the road. So.
Let me ask you this question then. For the long haul, you're still in the trucking business and understand the problems of your industry. What about the long haul truckers that are hauling into major cities and supposedly their drop-off points, maybe there's not enough help to do the job. Maybe they're putting themselves in harm's way, or maybe the business is down to a skeleton crew. What about some of the problems they're incurring?
I just think there's just going to be inherent problems with the virus. And people are not very good about letting you know ahead of time that they've got problems with their staff or with there's, a lot of them can't go inside the buildings. They have to just wait outside till someone comes and gets their paperwork. And, they have no idea when anyone's going to come out and get their paperwork. So that's the frustration for those people. I have deep sympathy because it's got to be extremely frustrating.
I think the trucking industry, God bless the trucking industry. This nation would absolutely come to a screeching halt right now and end up on its nose if the trucking industry suffers and there are curtailments. I appreciate your call. God bless you, your business, and I hope all goes well for you. Thank you so much.
Hey, Zeb?
Yes.
Let me tell you this quick story. story. So the trucking association got together and we purchased and got donated about 1,900 lunch boxes. So we went to the port of entry and they're passing out the lunch boxes. And then it showed up on the nightly news. They had, pictures. They had a photographer out there. And everyone that participated got a letter from the mayor of Boise criticizing them because they weren't practicing their social distancing.
Oh, my goodness.
Kind of entertaining.
It's not only entertaining, but it's frustrating. Thank you. And again, I salute you and your industry. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm glad that man called. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Please go ahead.
Yes, it's me again. Hey, I drive quite a bit over to Wyoming and then around Wyoming back to Idaho. Yesterday I went from Cokeville, Wyoming, clear to Boise and back. And as far as the truck stops go, there are, like the previous caller said, there are places like fast food joints you can get food, something to keep going. But when you walk into a truck stop and you go up to the hot window or wherever to get some food and all you see is the same deep-fried stuff that makes your stomach say, oh, you're not doing that again, are you? After a while, it's pretty disheartening. Once in a while, we'd like to stop and have a decent salad, not something that's been packaged and put in a cooler for a month. Something decent, something healthy, something wholesome. And it's a struggle. There's food out there, but the quality of it is somewhat on the scale you want to choose from, I guess.
All right. I appreciate your calling back. That's another point to have open to the public scrutiny. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Riley. Thank you. And going back to what the gentleman said a moment ago that's in the trucking business and the great effort of passing out lunch boxes, the trucking industry getting together and really helping to provide lunch boxes to truckers, and then the mayor of Boise complaining about it, saying, well, there wasn't enough social distancing. This is what I would tell the mayor of Boise. Shut up. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Okay, let's talk about the mayor of Boise. Dave Veeder was left wing. She's by far worse. And she's like the president of Boise State University, and they probably are friends. And if you study this, you know that this stuff is risky business. These people, where their hearts lie, would scare you and I to death. And you see, when an elitist wants to tell you and I how to live and what to do, how much water we could use, how high we could turn the temperature up, how much far we could drive, or anything, it's so un-American that it'll kill us. It's like me telling Riley how to drive a truck. It's like me telling you how to do your show. It's like me telling the farmer how to farm or the dairyman. I got no right. They know they're successful for a reason. The mayor of Boise is frightening, and Boise is slipping. It's becoming Portland and Seattle and Los Angeles, and God help us.
Amen. Randy, very well stated. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you for your call. God bless. Yeah, I hear people are trying to do good. People are trying to do good, and then for the mayor to step up in Boise and say, oh, well, that was wrong. Why, how dare you give these truck drivers lunch boxes? Why, there wasn't enough social distancing. Why, that was absolutely wrong. Mayor, shut up. Time for the weather. And the weather, I'll be with you in a minute, caller. Please bear with me. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And they're right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. And the number to call, 312-0957. You know, they've created an online shop over there where you can order supplies and accessories for your hearing devices. Just give them a call. And it's shopmountharrisonaudio.com. And they can help you. They will help you at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. Here's Scotty with the weather.
Catching a pretty nice break in the weather. Good morning with your 7th Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron. For today, going to be patchy fog this morning, burning off this afternoon for sunny skies, a high of 65. Clear for tonight with a low of 33. Tomorrow is going to be beautiful. Sunshine and 70. For tomorrow night, clear with a low of 37. Friday, sunny and a high of 68. Friday night, mostly clear with a low of 40. Then for Saturday, sunshine, then sunny, a little bit breezy and a high of 61. That's your 7th Ranch weather forecast. Have an amazing day.
Thank you, Scotty, and brought to everybody by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Where are they? Right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, and their phones are open 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and they're happy to answer any and all of your questions about your hearing health at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Caller, you've been very patient. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Zeb, I've got some unique problems. I've been sick, and I have a nurse come in every other day and bandage me and stuff. And they have to ask me questions now before they can come. And when they come, they've got a mask on, glasses so I can't breathe on them, I guess. I had to talk to my doctor yesterday, and he set up a virtual visit on the computer. And while I was talking to him, he says, well, we need to have you have an MRI as soon as possible. And I said, well, that's fine. Go ahead and set it up, and I'll go in. And the hospital, they called me a little bit later, and they said, well, we've kind of canceled all of our stuff like that. We can't do you until May the 11th.
Oh, my.
Which is, about a month away.
Yeah.
It just seems ridiculous what we're going through to take care of life.
Well, Jerry,
It makes no sense to me. Why don't we do a virtual MRI?
Okay. Let me just say this, because you've touched on a very important point. The saying that we've got to stay in confinement in fear of the coronavirus, but there are other fears that are not being addressed. Heart conditions, your condition, kidney conditions, and people are afraid, and the suicide rate nationwide has skyrocketed. We've got to look at other conditions that are as important as the coronavirus risk.
Well, I'm an old guy, and I do know how to use a computer, but I'm not as proficient as some of these young kids. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really trust it.
Yeah. Well, don't go bragging about being able to use the computer, because the only thing I can do with the computer for this radio program is turn it on and turn it off. That's it.
Now, you can do other things to your computer. You can drop it.
Yeah, I have. Thank you very much for reminding me. Jerry, God bless you for your call. Stay healthy, my dear friend. Take care. God bless. Thank you.
You have a wonderful day, and may the Lord bless you.
Thank you very much. I think there's a lot of other things that need to be considered, too. Very stressful, worrisome things. I got to be honest with you, folks, and that's the only way I'm going to approach this radio microphone, is it's been corona until I want to have my ears stuffed with cotton. There are other conditions to worry about. There are other diseases. Other things that are very, very dangerous right now. I've mentioned some of them. And it seems like they're being pushed onto the back burner. And coronavirus is taking the front seat at the theater and getting all the free popcorn. And I just think that we've got to look at things in their entirety and not one specialized item of interest. Does that make sense? Hope so. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. President Trump yesterday really ripped into the World Health Organization, and I am glad. I respect him for doing it. And he even said, I'm thinking seriously about cutting funding to that organization. You might be going, oh, how could he? Well, it's a good thing. The World Health Organization has kind of gone to the prom with the Chinese and seems to be in the Chinese pocket. And I absolutely think that our Congress, our government, our president should absolutely say no to the $2 billion a year that they're getting from us. The World Health Organization seems to be taking orders and doing exactly what China says. And quite frankly, it's time that the World Health Organization and its so-called leadership had their chain jerked to get their attention. I hope he does cut the funding. Let's see. On money to small businesses, and I've only got a couple of minutes left, and I want to say this really quick. Boy, there are so many programs right now that are being talked about, bannered about, on how you as a small business can get funds to keep your business afloat, pay the rent. I know how tough that is. And all the other items that you need to know as a small business. Call your accountant or your banker today. I said this last week, and I mean it. They really need to help you and should be able to give you the information necessary. Please, there are options. Take the time to understand them. Okay, next hour, Dave Bego at 9:06, the governor at 9:30. We've got a full plate coming up. Don't go away. Zeb at the ranch, and we've got quick reminder, too, on Mondays. Don't forget Vicky's Country Garden, spring and summer, lawn and garden, all this type of thing for better growing. Tune in Mondays at 10:32 for Vicky's Country Garden. What a wonderful place to do all your shopping for your lawn and garden, seeds, everything. Vicky's Country Garden. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Wheels, take it away. Oh, good morning. Good morning. You cannot beat today, no matter how you look at it. It's going to be a fantastic day. Sunshine, highs in the 60s. Oh, my goodness. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell. And, of course, with Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And our friends at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living, 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all in the Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Absolutely, they're talking trash at Western Waste Services and getting rid of all your garbage and trash. Absolutely, you give them a call, 734-6969. I want to stress the fact that we ordered a dumpster. They brought it over. We filled it up. They came and got it. They dumped it. We are refilling it. Oh, my, are we spring cleaning? Well, you can, too. Call Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. Really, really good people. Talking about good folks, and they are doing, and I mean this, all they can do to serve you during this very critical time, and that's Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. With restrictions on people going out or whatever, they're doing all they can to help people recoup from surgeries and accidents and the aching and paining. Please call them. Call them. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Yes, they are very concerned about your health and welfare and progression to get better. So please get a hold of them today. 678-1191, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Wonderful people. I'm doubling up here a little bit. I want to also remind you, too, about Minnecasia Sales. Hello, Zach and the crew, Zack Attack, at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Let me tell you, Minnecasia Sales is open, and they've got all your flooring needs, roofing, material, windows, doors, siding. Oh, my goodness, the beautification and the care of your home. And right now, you get a free pad with $200 worth of carpeting. Ho, you better get a hold of them today. 878-2091. Minnecasia Sales in Burley. I want to remind you that the governor is supposed to be calling in at 9:30 this morning, and I use the words of caution, supposed to be. So we'll look forward to that. We're going to have Dave Bego on momentarily. Want to remind you, too, about Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-5636. And they pledge to serve you as you want to be served, and they treating of your loved one as you want your loved ones to be treated. Always upholding the highest ethical standards and unquestioned integrity. When there's the passing of a loved one, please remember the people that care and will help you. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, his family and staff, and Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Right now, it is a Wednesday morning, and I get a chance to talk to a good old friend, and he's been on my program for a long time, as a matter of fact, and just absolutely appreciate his opinions. Good morning, Dave Bego in Indianapolis, Indiana. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Doing well. Hope you and Deanne are doing well.
We are. We're going to, tomorrow I'm taking the day off because we've tried to look at Thursdays to take care of all appointments, doctor's appointments and everything, because now a lot of the medical profession isn't open on Fridays, my one day off. So we're doing well, and certainly hope you and your family are safe back there.
Yeah, we're doing well. We're safe, and actually, we've had a couple nice days. We were in 80 degrees yesterday, and today we're going to be about mid-70s.
Oh, my goodness.
We got a cold front coming through, so
okay.
It's going to go away.
Let me ask you this, Dave, to start things off this morning. Our Governor Little has basically on March 25th issued a decree for a kind of a stay-in-place, stay-at-home order. What's going on in the state of Indiana? Has your governor done something comparable?
No, he did that back in mid-March, and he updated it at the 1st of April. And we have the stay-at-home thing all the way till the end of this month, and they've also quarantined people and closed some of our parks and places like that. And in Marion County here, where the city of Indianapolis is, they shut down all the golf courses and parks and everything else, trying to keep people away from each other and keep this stuff from spreading.
Let me ask you this question, and it's not so much a question as it is a statement, and I want you to respond to it. I am a little miffed when you study what they term non-essential or essential businesses being allowed to stay open. Tell me, what's the sanity in allowing a, let's say, hardware store to stay open and be a congregating place of many, many people going in at all points of the day, standing around visiting, but then at the same juncture saying to a jewelry store that would have minimal people coming in, maybe 2 or 3 per hour, why are they closed down? There's no sanity in the essential and non-essential.
Well, in some of those particular areas, it is kind of strange, and but our company, we're considered an essential company because we have to stay open because we're out in buildings and we got to clean and sanitize the buildings and protect people and that. And I think when they've come down to some of those, they've gotten off the track a little bit. But restaurants and stuff like that, I understand that because you get a lot of people there at one time. It's like, we own Maple Creek Country Club here in Indianapolis, and we had to shut down our restaurant, but we are doing carry out, and but we're very, very, very sophisticated and keeping things very, very clean, and people order carry-out orders. They can't even come in the building. They can drive up to the front door And we have a number they call, say they're there, and our waitresses carry out their stuff, and our waitresses have, gloves on, and a lot of them have a mask on and everything like that, and we give them their food.
Okay, but you've just kind of basically come over to my side in the semblance of saying you're taking all the precautions and you're still serving the public. It would be, in my opinion, a lot easier and better for the economy and saying, I'm going to issue a health edict. All people will wear gloves, all people will wear face masks, and people could stay open and not have these edicts of hurting some people and possibly running them out of business.
Yeah, it's a sad thing, Zeb, and I think they've gone overboard all across the country, and even the president is some. And I think we need to get back to who we are. And if people are sick, they need to stay home. And we can have people wear masks and that and gloves, and because there are people that go out there, Zeb, that they don't care and they don't get it, and they'll go in someplace and they're sick, and they'll give it to somebody else. But the other thing is that people need to understand when you look at this, the doctors have said that you have to be within 6 feet of people for about 10 minutes before you're going to catch anything from them. So it's not just by walking by somebody or something like that. It's being by them for a fair amount of time.
Yes. One thing that really bothers me is our medicine and our pharmaceuticals. Here we are paying the piper and being led over a cliff by China. I don't find myself saying anything good about China, and I will not be coerced into saying anything good about China. But it's the fault of our politicians that we have given almost 90% or more of the manufacturing and processing of our pharmaceuticals to China. And my fear is, and I got into a discussion with a doctor about this the other day, and he agreed with me, that right now is a very concerning time as to what they are doing with our pharmaceuticals, how they're processing our pharmaceuticals, and in control of our pharmaceuticals, if they wanted to, they could be deadly.
Yeah, and and I believe the coronavirus is a China's attack on the U.S., to be honest with you, because Trump is, going after them on trade and other things, and I think this is their way of fighting back. But the other side, it's not just politics, it's also the unions, because, a lot of this stuff has been shipped overseas into Mexico and other places to be produced, because the unions have pushed the labor up so high in this country that it's caused them to not be competitive and in these drug markets and stuff like that. And it's time we got back to the point where people, and I say in my book too, the devil at our doorstep. At one time, unions did good things, but I think they've gone overboard, and some of them still are. I'm talking about the larger unions. I don't know. My book talks about how we fought the SEIU, and an article came out last week on the SEIU, or earlier this week, but the left-wing labor union, SEIU, has been found hoarding 39 million face masks.
Oh, my.
And they do that on purpose because they don't want, things to progress and people to do well in that, because behind the scenes, they're trying to make Trump look bad and the Republican Party, so they can win the November election and take over, the House and the Senate and the presidency and turn this country into a socialistic, communistic country.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Let me ask you this. With all the businesses that you serve in your extensive cleaning business, what about it? This economy is not going to come back just by turning on a light switch. I mean, what are your concerns about somebody standing up like starting a NASCAR race and waving a green flag? It just ain't going to happen that way, is it?
No, it's going to take time, and it's like the Indy 500. It's been rescheduled into August, and some of other things that we have here, and all the basketball and football we even have ladies pro basketball here, and it's been rescheduled into the fall and stuff like that. And it's going to take time, but I think businesses, if they back off this stuff and allow people to go back to work, and we can get things going again, I think the businesses will come back pretty fast. I really do, because I think people will get out there, they'll be working, they want to do these things, and I think the economy will start growing.
I hope and pray that everything you said is right. And I think I'd like to ask you about maybe some of your coffee shop buddies or whatever. What are you hearing about the stimulus money that is available in various forms and degrees to SBA, small business owners? To me, since last week, I've read so much and tried to keep up with the plans that are available. Do you really understand everything that's going on?
Well, we've looked at that stuff and that because, we have our major company, cleaning company, is a big company with, well over 5,000 employees. But, the SBA stuff is for companies that are 500 employees or less. And, our supply company and our manufacturing company and our golf course are in that category. And we've looked at the things, but quite honestly, as we've run it through our attorney and our CPA and the people that we do business with on that kind of stuff, they're not real high on it, and we just kind of pushed it aside.
Well, I do think, though, and I don't want to poo-poo it away, I want to say something in kind of appreciation for what they're doing. I have heard and understand that there is grant money available that does not have to be repaid for the small business owners, the self-employed business owners, that type of thing, sole proprietorships, etc., that if people have questions and they want to see if they can't jump in before going bankrupt, I would think it behooves them to find out from their accountant or their banker as soon as possible. Your thoughts?
No, I agree with you 100%. Like I say, we went through all that stuff because, we still would be able to run these companies and that, but, when it's like our golf club, most of our employees are not working very much right now. They're laid off. Out on the golf course, we can still have it, but our golf course is closed down too. We can't allow members to come out and play the course. And but we still have our field crew out there, getting it ready for summer and stuff like that. But, it hurts us on the golf course at the country club because, we have lack of revenues coming in and our restaurant and our members coming in buying other things and stuff like that and renting carts, and it does hurt. And it's unfortunate that because we have to be closed down, we really don't have anything for employees in the clubhouse to do except the dinner carryouts on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and that's it, basically.
And see, right there is a business and or enterprise that I cannot tastefully swallow that it should be closed. You're out in the open air. You're not standing there linking arms together, walking down the fairway, especially the way I play golf. I'm off by myself most of the time. I don't see why it has to be shut down.
Zeb, it's, in the bigger cities, and Indianapolis is one of the bigger cities, they're come down, and I know the mayor here in Indianapolis. He's a Democrat, but I like him. He's a good guy, and he's been very respectful to me and everything as a businessman and a person. But, when he put this thing out last week, because we had to close it down last Friday, I called him and talked to him, and he says, Dave, I understand. He says, I understand what you're saying. I'm with you. I grew up east of your country club, and I like that part of town and that. He says, but what really brought this was the Department of Public Health. They're the ones that brought all this up and pushed this through, and they had doctors and everything in their meetings and all this stuff and pushed it through, and I really didn't have any choice but to agree with it.
I am so proud of President Trump for absolutely ripping into the World Health Organization yesterday, a bunch of phony cronies that were basically put in their hierarchy seats because China backed them, and they are taking orders from China, and they are taking the do's and don'ts from China. And I salute our president for saying, hey, wait a minute. You're not doing your job. We give you over $2 billion a year. We fund about 21% of your budget. If you're going to take orders from China, you're not getting any more of our money. I like that attitude.
Well, yeah, exactly right, Zeb. And it's like NATO and other stuff where we're spending a lot of money that we shouldn't be because these companies or countries are using our money to further their countries, and that's not helping our people here in this country. And I'm glad he's working on all these things.
You know, when you look at the overall picture of, and nobody knows, only the good Lord knows. I mean, hopefully the curve is going to flatten out. Hopefully the East Coast is going to show soon some semblance of curtailment of this dreaded virus. Hopefully states like mine, Idaho, are not going to jump into a deeper puddle of water. We've had 15 deaths so far and approximately 1,213 cases in the state of Idaho. But boy, this whole country has got to get back on its feet as soon as possible, whether it's agriculture, whether it's tourism, whether any kind of business. It can't go much longer.
Well, that's right, and we got to get everybody and even the president to back off a little bit on this stuff and allow people to get back to work and go out there. And and I've read an article, actually my daughter found it and sent it to me yesterday, that a lot of this stuff that they're talking about, the ventilators and all that stuff, really isn't helping that much. And that really the thing that we need to do is we need to get out there and do what Trump has been pushing for, and that's using the drug that he's pushing, because what this all boils down to is this virus, it connects to the hemoglobin in our blood cells, red blood cells, and locks up the iron, which the iron takes oxygen throughout our body, and that's the whole problem with it. And if we would just go back and use the chloroquine that Trump's talking about, it would probably stop this and get us over it pretty damn fast.
I certainly appreciate that, and I like your affirmative way of saying it, too. I absolutely thank you for coming on the program, and there's one other aspect of this dreaded virus that really irks me, is that it has been a death blow to the churches, especially at this time, Holy Week, and the commemoration of Easter. And all I can say to you and your family is, God bless you, happy Easter, and stay well.
Well, same to you, and I know we're missing out on it too. Our church is streaming masses on that online, which is good, but it's really sad that we can't be a church, adoring our God.
You know what I'm doing at 10:30 this morning? I feel like you should know. At 10:30 this morning on my program, I have a pastor coming on, and at 10:30 to 11, I'm going to do my own Easter service right here on my program.
Well, good for you. Good for you. Well, again, God bless and have a great Easter, okay?
God bless you, Dave. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Dave Bego, author, great businessman, and political analyst, and I appreciate him. Thank you very much. Want to remind you about our friends at Let's Ride, and they're closed on Mondays and open Tuesdays through Friday, 9 to 5, and I urge you to call. I urge you to call and find out about their service department and everything else. The number, write it down, 436-4771. They know that the farmers need the four-wheelers. They know everybody's looking to get out and get away, and they're offering 15% off on all their service work through the end of this month of April. Please call the number 436-4771. I'm talking about Let's Ride at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. You get a hold of those good folks today. Other folks you need to be aware of and contact, because because they do one great job for you, your family, and your business, and that's Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Yes, sir. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more. They are dedicated to serving you. That's it, plain and simple. Dedication and devotion to helping you. All you need to do is just pick up the phone and give them a call at 436-4424. That number 4, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really nice folks. Right now, I'm going to check with Wheels and see if the governor is on the line. Is he there, Wheels?
Yes, sir, he is.
I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, we are very honored to have the governor of the great state of Idaho calling into our program this morning, live and direct from Boise. Good morning, Governor Brad Little, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are things at the ranch?
They're good. You ought to stop in sometime and sit down across from me and have a little confab.
I would love to. I miss this time of year is such a great time to get out and see the hay turning green and the crops being put in and the grass turning green. And but I did go to Emmett yesterday, but I'm kind of sequestered around here. I got which doesn't make me very happy.
Governor, let me start off with this. We are all facing a very serious consequence right now with the coronavirus sweeping across our country and also the world. I'm very concerned this morning about our state of Idaho and where we are. Give us, from your perspective, sitting in the number one chair as the governor, where are we on this coronavirus?
Well, I think we've been doing the right thing. We've, from a percentage standpoint, and of course it's in your area, it kind of started in the Ketchum-Haley area. That was the first place we had community spread. And of course that bleeds down Twin Falls area and over close to you in that part of the Magic Valley. But we've really got community spread everywhere. I've got it in Rexburg, Idaho Falls, Boise, Canyon County, a lot of the little counties. I got it up at Coeur d'Alene in the Kootenai County area. So we've got community spread. As a result of, we're just getting to the point from our stay home request that we're starting to see a bending of the curve, which is really important. And, the issue is older people and particularly health compromised people is having enough health care capacity. That's the issue. We don't have a lot of, matter of fact, we're second or third to last. We're training a lot of them as far as doctors per capita and healthcare workers. So we have to be very careful that we don't outrun our health capacity, or bad things are going to happen, not only from the coronavirus, but any other health issue. If your hospitals are all plugged up with coronaviruses, then anybody from car accident to any other health issue is not going to be able to get the kind of care that we expect in Idaho. So, and every day the science changes. Whatever pharmaceutical relief we're going to get, vaccine, those are all coming along, not near fast enough for me. But as those things change, then how we react will change.
Governor, let me ask you this. Are you, with the information that you have every day provided to you, are you anticipating a surge in the numbers of cases and, yes, also the deaths in the state of Idaho? Or, with what's been done since March 25th, are you anticipating that maybe that curve will level out and we won't be as bad as they thought?
That's fair. We will not be as bad as thought.
I've got two different models in front of me. Matter of fact, these are done by the University of Washington, and all the governors look at these numbers, and of course I don't. It's the old garbage in, garbage out as far as data, and because this is so new, but on the 31st of March, the end of March, which was only 8 days ago, they were projecting 459 deaths in Idaho. The last model, now there's 69. There hasn't been that big of a change, and that's just numbers going into the model. We're doing our own model in Idaho because, Idaho's a lot different from the Seattle area or New York, where people are on subways and buses and in crowded buildings. So we have to build our own model, and that's what we're doing here in Idaho.
Governor, you and I both have known each other for quite some time, and you know that we've put a leg over the saddle horn and visited with each other while sitting on horseback. And I'm just going to be very blunt. The state, my business, and so many thousands of other businesses have got to get back to work soon, or there won't be any work or business in the future. What are your thoughts?
Well, nobody wants that to happen more than I do. But the risk is if you don't do some prescriptive actions about basically social interaction that causes another wave, the consequences will be worse. We're always looking at these models for a second wave. One of the things that we don't know, but there's some real new evidence, is what happens when the weather warms up. What's the effect of the spread of this virus on ultraviolet light from the sun? If the kind of promising science on that gets up and better, then there'd be ample reason to lower the restrictions. But if things don't change, we're going to have to extend this for a while to get our arms around it to make sure we have enough healthcare capacity. Because believe me, these doctors don't want to say Zeb lives and Brad dies. They don't want to be in a position, and that's what's happened in Italy, and that's actually what's happened a little bit in New York right now. In some of those other areas, is there happened to, and then it gets to be so bad that everything's shut down. Our stay home and order in Idaho, allows people to get out. Some states, construction industry is not an essential industry. Almost everywhere, agriculture is, because you got to eat and you got to distribute the food. But the issue is going to be what do we open up next? But I have been very impressed by the behavior of people from one end of the state to the other about how A, they're helping their neighbors, and B, how they're being very compliant about that social distancing.
Okay, Governor, bear with me on this just for a second as I lay this out for you. I do not agree with essential and non-essential businesses. I don't agree with, let's say, perhaps a hardware store, a congregating place for everybody to go to, and you might have 30 to 40 people in there. They can stay open, but then on the other hand, let's assume maybe a jewelry store that gets 1 or 2 or 3 people per hour. There's a segregation there that is a denigration to one's business, but a plus to the other. I think if we all use the same health standards and precautions, most all businesses could stay open. How would you respond?
Well, there's a certain percent to stop the spread, to lower the curve. There's a certain amount of social interaction that needs to be limited. And I agree that it's somewhat arbitrary. The hardware stores have been directed to maintain their social distancing. Some of the grocery stores, which is kind of an interesting concept, are going to one-way aisles so that you don't. But you got to have grocery stores open, and there's some construction that's essential. Here in this valley, there's a lot of hospital capacity that's being added, and you have to have the construction industry. I think the jewelry store is a good example of one that, you know, if there's going to be limited contact at some point soon, I hope to open that up. But you have to draw the line somewhere to reduce the amount of spread so that we don't overrun our healthcare capacity. And I agree that some of it looks arbitrary. Now, I don't know about a tattoo parlor or a hair. I know a lot of people are saying a barber shop and a hair salon is essential, but that's a different kind of interaction. But we have to preserve A, people's ability to eat, and B, their healthcare capacity, and that's our number one priority. But I think as we go forward, probably the one that I'm most interested in is what we can do as far as our churches. But almost everybody everywhere agreed that was such a venue for spread that it needed to be done. But if I had my druthers, that would be the first thing I would open up.
You know, I'm going to say this, and I've got more questions, but I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't trade chairs with you for all the money in the world right now. It can't be a very fun job.
Well, I was on a call with one of the governors, a friend of mine, and we got to the end of the call and said, I don't know if I signed up for this. I said, well, yeah, you kind of did. 40 days ago, we were about to announce, and the Magic Valley where you are, is, a lot of those counties down there had a 1 in front of their unemployment rate, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, and everybody was howling about where they're going to find help. And, our revenue was coming in at a surplus point. We were doing the things I wanted to do in education to move the needle on literacy for our kids, and all of a sudden everything got tipped upside down. Butch was gracious enough with me that, I went through some floods and some droughts and some fires, but this is obviously a big one. But I got to tell you, the people of Idaho, the state employees, my staff, I'm going to have a call here in just a few minutes with all the legislature. I have a weekly call with all the county commissioners and the mayors. As disruptive as this is, I've been very thankful for people's understanding about what a major consequence it is, and all the notes that I've gotten. And I get plenty of criticism, but that is part of the job. So I appreciate that, Zeb.
Governor, one of the biggest issues that I haven't heard too many people talking about this year or so far this spring with the coronavirus, and it affects almost every state in the union, and that's the tourism aspect. I mean, Idaho depends on a lot of tourism for the bulk of a lot of money to go into Idaho's coffers. That's not going to be there this year. How are we going to swallow that pill?
That's the problem. And, of course, those communities, Sun Valley, McCall, Coeur d'Alene, the Teton County area, have been the ones that have been howling the most about not having people come in. I got a note from the mayor of Coeur d'Alene yesterday. Jay Inslee's order doesn't end in the governor of Washington until May 3rd, and he's concerned that if we lift ours without something, that everybody from Spokane is going to run to Coeur d'Alene, and they've really got community spread in Spokane, and that's a problem. There was evidence that a lot of people in California and Seattle were going to Sun Valley, and some of the community up there are, kind of blame what they had up there, but, that's part of their regular operating, that people come in from all over the world to ski, people come up there to recreate. It is going to be they were the biggest victims the last time we had a recession, and they're going to be a big victim here. But we got to get this over with, and if we just get some therapeutics, some ways to treat this, to where we don't have to, put people on ventilators. If we can get the promise of a vaccine, if we can test and see who's got an immunity to it, all of this will get to be a lot easier. And believe me, there are lots of bright people all over the world working on this. I just hope and pray that it happens sooner rather than later.
Governor, quick response on this. I know we're short on time, but I want you to cover as many areas as possible. Education in the state of Idaho right now is in a total state of flux. I mean, it's like a basketball hanging up in the air for Jordan to stuff it. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Talk about education in the state.
Well, some of the schools, the Nampa School District is one of the bigger school districts in the state. The leaders, the trustees, and the leaders in that district had already gone to each student having a device, a tablet or a laptop or whatever it might be, and had kind of ramped up their online learning. A lot of the districts were a long way from having that. We are, the state board, the Department of Education, the school districts are all trying to work with that to give resources to parents to help their kids. I wanted to have more robust online learning. This is like a cataclysmic shock for us to do that. And the districts that don't have it are really, really struggling. But I tell you, there's a lot of teachers that are home. They're on the phone, they're online with their students that are doing a lot of great work. But I worry about the kids that are falling through the cracks, which is always a problem in education, but this even makes it worse. That when we get back to normalcy, that we're going to have all kinds of programs to take the kids that fell behind and try and get them caught up with the ones who were fortunate enough to have parents or guardians or a system to go forward in education. But every state in the union is going to have that problem.
Governor, real quick, I know there's stimulus programs for money for small business owners like myself and others, but to understand these programs and what to do and how to get it done is like looking into a bucket of mud. It's not very clear. What are your thoughts on the stimulus money, and where is the best source for people to try to get information and understand what's available?
Well, the Small Business Administration, I should know the website. It's SBA. But if you just type in the Small Business Administration, but also your local bank. I think I got a call. Some of the bigger banks have long-term relationships with SBA, but some of the smaller ones don't. And so we're doing all we can to help there. Right now, the banks don't have the cash in hand from the federal government. I know the president was talking last night or this morning about adding some more money into that pool. But it's, businesses, if you're a restaurant, you were closed down, you fall into the category. But this morning, I was out early and I poked my head in the door of my local cobbler, and, he's not an essential business or a non-essential business, and he says his business is just gone. He said, fortunately, somebody had 2 pairs of logging boots he got to rebuild, but, and I know there's going to be different programs, but your banks and Small Business Administration, I read a document today that had some pretty good information, but some of that money's a little slow to go out, and we will do everything we can at my website, coronavirus.idaho.gov, to make that information available, Zeb.
One last thought, and it's a topic that you are very well involved in like I am, and that's agriculture. I am really worried from the field, the pasture, to the plate, the restaurant, the grocery store, whatever. What safety and security measures are there taken? Boy, we can't lose one farmer, we can't lose one rancher, and there's such a domino theory with the manufacturing, processing, and the distribution of food. I'm really concerned about this. What are your thoughts?
Well, one thing about it, the demand for food is as great as it's ever been. Where it is on the food chain changes. Obviously, I think that my ranch that I used to run, that now the kids run, part of our calf crop is Wagyu beef, which is high end. That market's just crashed because there's no restaurant trade. But the hamburger business is great. There's a lot of consumers that are buying hamburger. In the dairy industry, fresh milk that went into schools and restaurants, that business is no good. But the cheese and the yogurt and some of those other things is pretty good. So there's going to be some dislocation. I worry about the farmers getting sick, and I worry about a lot of the farm workers. But if you're an employer, the last thing you want to do is have your crew get sick at harvest time. And so I'm counting on the good judgment and the entrepreneurial spirit of my agriculture producers to follow all the best practices, to try and stay healthy, to maintain social distancing, to when they go to the tractor shop to get their, it used to be you'd go to town and get your parts and stop by the coffee shop and visit with your buddies. That's not such a good idea anymore. One of the things I miss on the weekend, I go home and have breakfast with my brothers and some of my buddies there, and I miss that. But that was a great venue for spread, and I urge all my agricultural guys to use good practices when they're around that, because we can't afford to have a disruption in the production of food, not only for us, for our economy, for Idaho, but for the world.
One last thought. I've only got a minute left, Governor. I would like you, if you would please, to reassure the state and all of my audience about what you're doing, what the state of Idaho is doing against this coronavirus. Go ahead, please, sir.
Well, my number one job is to keep people safe. And I can't keep people safe if my hospitals are overrun, my healthcare workers are sick. So the actions that we took were predicated on that. But my overarching goal is to get everybody back to work, to get back to the incredible economic prosperity that not everybody was enjoying. But, there were so many people that were kind of on the bottom of the economic food chain that were just making great advancement. And that always warmed my heart every time I saw that. That's what I want to return to. But some of these actions that we're taking today are for us to get there faster rather than slower. And I'm just internally grateful for the people that are helping their neighbors and that are complying with our advice and suggestions and working with their communities to get there. And I'm also thankful for people like you that are helping us get the word out. So I appreciate it very much, Seth.
I want to say thank you to you, sir, for taking the time to come on our program. Please don't be a stranger. Come back more often. Governor Brad Little, stay well, stay healthy. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Seth.
God bless. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Our Governor, Brad Little, and his thoughts about the coronavirus and the state of where we are at. Your thoughts. I got time for a phone call or two. I'm going to do the weather forecast real quick. Wheels, we need to have you bump some things up in my headset just a little bit, if you would, please. Thank you. Over at the main studio in just a minute, we're going to have Scotty with the weather. But first of all, I'll tell tell you about Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. The best of tax return preparation, tax planning, financial statement preparation, retirement planning. These are the professionals. These are the professionals in accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area, and they have been for over 50 years. With offices in Burley and Rupert, I'm talking about Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Here's Scotty with the weather.
Catching a pretty nice break in the weather. Good morning with your 7th Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron. For today, going to be patchy fog this morning, burning off this afternoon for sunny skies, a high of 65. Clear for tonight with a low of 33. Tomorrow is going to be beautiful. Sunshine and 70. For tomorrow night, clear with a low of 37. Friday, sunny and a high of 68. Friday night, mostly clear with a low of 40. Then for Saturday, sunshine, then sunny, a little bit breezy and a high of 61. That's your 7th Ranch weather forecast. Have an amazing day.
Thank you, Scotty. I appreciate your help this morning as Gina's out of the office, so thank you. And Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, so helpful. I want to really point out that our accountant, Lyden Crane, at Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, has just been so beneficial in this time of need to help us and give us information. I'm very, very high on these folks. They are the professionals. They have offices at 1710 Overland Avenue in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Don't forget, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Oh, my. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got time for a quick phone call. Get on the line. Give me a jingle if you would, please. And a quick reminder. I didn't get this in on the first hour of the program this morning. I'm sorry. But if you would like to help the Senior Center on Overland and Burley by getting a meal every day, you must call in the day before and order the meal. Now, here's what you need to do is just remember, call 878-8646. 878-8646. They have curbside service, and you can pick the meals up. They're only $5. I mean, for $5, you're getting great food and helping the Senior Center. 878-8646. Call the day before and order your meals so they know how many meals to prepare, okay? Really easy and helps them a lot. And then you can pick up the meals, I believe, from 10:30 in the morning till 11:30. Don't forget, that's at the Senior Center on Overland Avenue in Burley, 878-8646. There you go. Coming up next hour, we're going to have Dr. Gerard Lamero coming on our program, and of any and all the people that are on my program that really give a great prognostication as to what's happening politically or now with the coronavirus and everything, and with the upcoming election, he's going to have all that for us at 10:06. Caller, I've got 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Zeb. Our prophet has called a worldwide fast and prayer day for Friday, Good Friday. He has invited all churches, all religions, all people, if they want to join us in prayer and fasting to help us get over and heal and be able to do the things we need to do. And I just wanted to let you know.
Oh, and I appreciate that, and I would say back to you that at 10:30 this morning, we're going to have our own little Easter service and recognition of Easter on my program. Thank you very much for that call this morning. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
God bless you.
Have a good day.
Thank you. We're going to turn it back over to Wheels right now at our main studio and listen to the CBS News, probably turn everything upside down. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Good morning and welcome back. Our number 3, Zeb at the Ranch for this morning, and our thanks again to our dear friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And along with our other friends, lots of friends, Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends, and that's so true. And at Greystone Crossing, they have done so much to ensure the safety and health of their residents. It's a beautiful, brand new 12-bedroom home. Absolutely furnishing 3 delicious meals every day, snacks, housekeeping, etc. And I urge all the seniors listening to this, if you're looking for a great place to stay, a great place to be with your friends, this is it. Call Matt or Kelly Wiggins at 650-4979 for an appointment to see the facility, 650-4979. Greystone Crossing, Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors, as I said, living the good life with friends. Want to also remind you about our friends at 7K Metals, and as I've said every day, I've been introduced to 7K Metals with silver purchases that are sent right to our home. Absolutely. There's not any big hassle or anything that you need to really know or remember except this. Contact Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon Wilmot at 430-3259 with 7K Metals and find out how you can build your financial future and security through silver purchases. And it's a great opportunity for saving and also a valued treasure for your loved ones in the future. Don't forget 7K Metals. Tell them I told you to call our dear friends Lon Hardy and Sharon Wilmot at 7K Metals. Right now, we are going to go to the phone line, and one of my all-time favorite guests, and he's written many books, and the latest one is absolutely a home run. I really enjoyed it. The Real World Socialism, Spiritual, Moral, and Economic Bankruptcy, Sold by Using False Hopes and Deceit. Here's the author, Dr. Gerard Lamero. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, and it's great to talk with you.
All right, Dr. Lamero, here we are in April, and the United States absolutely looking at some very dangerous situations with the coronavirus and the economy, and people are just absolutely questioning and wondering if they're still going to have a business to go back to and work for, or small business owners are going to be able to open the doors. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that we overreacted to the COVID virus. I honestly believe we didn't have to shut down the country. If we look back over the last 10 years, unfortunately, every year we have a flu or some bug that hits us, and we lose between 12,000 and 80,000 people a year die from the flu. And so far this year, we've had a number of people die from this COVID virus, but you know what? They initially told us 2 million Americans might die. Then they told us 1 million Americans might die. Then they told us their model said that 100,000 to 240,000 would die. Then they dropped it to 90,000. Then a few days ago, they dropped it to 81,000, and breaking news, before I came on the show today, I checked, now they're down to it may cost 60,000. Well, that's within the range of a normal flu, which is between 12,000 and 80,000 people that die. I think shutting down the country was a panic reaction that was helped by the media, causing panic like this is the worst thing that ever hit the world, like an atom bomb hit us or something. I think the virus now, all the data we can see, is not as bad as people thought, not as bad as the models over-predicted. And just like the climate models seem to over-predict the fatality from climate change, if there is any climate change at all, I think these models are over-predicting everything. And they got people all worried and upset, and they're afraid to talk to their relatives or they're afraid to go to a funeral. They're afraid to go to a wedding. And in some cases, some states, they absolutely prohibit it. So what do I think we're peaking on the virus just as I predicted about a month ago. I predicted it would peak around the middle of April, the middle of May, in that time frame. It's peaking, and I think America probably can and should go back to work on May 1st, if not sooner.
Dr. Lamero, there are so many people that are hurting right now, and not just business owners or people that work for a business. I mean, the increase in suicides, the marriages that are falling apart, the lack of education for our kids. I mean, this whole thing has just destroyed the upswing of America's economy since Donald Trump took over. Where are we on this, and how long do you think it's going to take to rebuild it?
Well, I'll tell you what. All those companies that were out there doing great work and helping to make the stock market boom up to a Dow Jones of 30,000 about, 8 weeks ago, those companies are still terrific buys, and now the stock prices are low. I think as soon as we let America, as soon as we put the accelerator back on the economy, let people get out of their houses and apartments and go back to work, it's going to boom. I mean, all the people who wanted to take vacations can take vacations. All the people who want to go to the store, maybe buy a new car, buy a second car, buy a new truck, whatever they want to do, they'll be free to do it. The people who want to go vacations, sleep out in a tent somewhere, they can go do that. I think basically the economy is going to roar back. I think by the fall it'll be back to normal. I think the stock market and people's 401ks and IRAs will be doing great. And I do not think that there's any chance that Donald Trump is going to lose this election. I think he's going to win again.
When you say that, I've got to ask you about the politicization of what's going on as the left is politicizing the downgrade in the economy, the downgrade in the stock market, and I am appalled at the left and some of the congressmen and senators on the left that are saying this is Trump's way of tanking the economy. This is disgusting. Your thoughts, please.
Yeah, disgusting's a great word. These people come up with the most outlandish statements, the most ridiculous things that hold no truth, no water to them, and I think it's ridiculous. Donald Trump was happy to oversee a great economy, and he was basically had his arm twisted with these models that said that the country was going to come to his feet. I mean, no, a president has to protect the lives of the citizens, and when they told him 2 million people might die, I mean, he has to take that seriously. These are not people just saying something. I mean, these are top doctors and CDC experts, so-called experts. But I'll tell you what, I know a lot about models because I do modeling. That's my business. And I know that models can be off if they're not done properly or if people want them to be off. And I'll tell you, they spent 3 years trying to get rid of Trump, 2 years trying to get rid of him because of so-called Russian interference with the election, which was found out to be bogus. They tried a year to get rid of Trump, and they impeached him over the Ukraine, which was bogus, number 2. And I heard somebody say on one of those late night shows, or I heard it quoted the next day, that, boy, it wouldn't be bad if we had a recession here to maybe get rid of Trump. And I heard that about a year ago. Well, they manufactured a crisis, and or they took a crisis and exploited it, and basically try to hurt the economy, and they did a good job of hurting the economy. But we have a great country, we have great people, and we're going to bounce back.
You know, when you talk about politics and how evil it has become and how sinister it has become, what are your thoughts we're at a point of 6.5 months prior to the November elections, and I remember vividly, I think it was about 6-7 weeks ago, I had you on the program, and to paraphrase my own verbiage, not yours, I said basically it's going to be a slam dunk for Trump, and you agreed with me. Have you changed your thoughts as to the slam dunk part as far as the public may be kind of being wishy-washy on Donald Trump?
Not at all. they basically approve of the way he's handled the crisis. They think he's acted very presidential. They think it's essentially the type of crisis that's similar to a world war crisis, where the country is at a world war or war. And by the way, the American people never change commanders-in-chief during a war. So even if this were to go on, having this serious of a crisis, they're afraid to put somebody in there who may not do as good a job. They're happy with how he has managed this. He's pulled people together. He's pulled corporations together. Even that fellow who does My Pillow, Mike Lindell, he's making face masks. Donald Trump has pulled America together to fight this virus. And we're going to fight the virus. It's going to be gone. We're going to have drugs. You know, the anti-malarial drugs seem to work real well with Z-Paks drugs. And they've already got 2 vaccines in testing. We're going to beat this, and we're going to come back. The thing that I object a little to is I don't think we had to shut down the economy. I think it's just like a regular flu, and I think it's going to turn out to be a regular flu. And I think a year from now, people are going to look back and say, why did we go overboard? This just wasn't that serious. That's my opinion.
I do want to inject this, though, for you to respond to. I have a great, large animosity. I'm using my words carefully because we're on the radio, against China and the Chinese government and for the allowance of this virus to escape and become worldwide. I think there should be something done, some kind of sanctions, whatever, against China. My bitterness towards them knows no boundaries this morning.
I can understand that, and there are many in the United States Senate and the House right now that feel the exact same way. Let me tell you what, Chinese are going to pay a big price, and they have gotten away with, deals that they should have never gotten away with prior presidents. Trump is holding them to their nose to the surface there, and he's not going to let them get away with things. And you know what's the first thing that's going to happen? We're going to pull back our supply chains for all medical equipment and medical drugs. There's no reason to let somebody like the Chinese communists dictate to us whether or not we get the drugs. Do you know that their news agency, the official communist news agency, threatened to withhold antibiotics and drugs to the United States because they might want to do that? And that's no way to treat a partner, and we cannot rely on a country that threatens us with withholding drugs. We sent them overseas because they could make them cheaper. That was a mistake. We should have kept them here. We're going to bring them back. They're going to lose a lot of money from us because they're not going to be making our drugs and our medical supplies any longer.
You know, Doctor, it was just a few short weeks ago, I was visiting with a medical doctor, a practitioner here in southern Idaho, and his concerns about China having anything to do with the manufacturing and processing of our drugs, he was scared to death. And he said, I don't trust them at all for what they could do or might try to do as to the quality of those drugs coming to the United States. Do you share those same concerns?
Absolutely, they could do that. Look at what we've seen during this crisis in terms of face masks and other equipment. We had the Netherlands send the stuff back to China that they bought from China. We had Italy send the stuff back to China. We had Spain send the stuff back to China because they were defective and cheap and they weren't made properly. So if they can do that and try to get away with it, how do we know that they're not making the drugs inferior too? I mean, unless you check every shipment, who knows? I say they have not earned our business from now on. Henceforth, we've got to be independent, make it in American labs, make it in American factories, and it will be the top quality in the world.
Absolutely. Would you try to explain to me, I know I'm just a big old cowboy from Idaho, but would you tell me the common sense, if there is any, of the left applauding that our prisons are opened up and prisoners are released during this coronavirus? This is insanity to me.
Well, you know what? It just shows you one more reason why the Democratic Party, the left in the United States, are just plain socialists. They are doing everything they can to make the country lawless. You know, they have sanctuary states, they have sanctuary cities, which means sanctuary states and cities means they get to pick which laws they follow and which laws they don't. And they're going to let murderers and other criminals out because they're afraid they'll get the virus. And then they'll arrest some man who's playing softball at a park because he shouldn't be allowed to be out during the coronavirus. But real criminals, they'll let them out of jail. Is this insanity? I think the left has gone off the deep end in their attempts to get power and their attempts to bring socialism to the United States. They want to do away with law and order. They also don't want a law and order at the border. Let anybody come in that wants to come in.
You know, and that's the idiocy of this whole thing. I mean, they're talking about you and I, my wife, everyone staying indoors, staying away from anybody, try to stay at least 6 to 8 feet away, wear a mask, etc., and then let our borders be so porous to let people that are illegal aliens into this country and we have no idea who they are or what they may be carrying.
Absolutely. And, you know, people don't realize that everybody who comes across the southern border, they may think they're just healthy people looking for a job, but unfortunately that's not the case. Some of them have various diseases that we have eradicated in the past because most people in the U.S. get shots so their kids don't get bad illnesses. But, you know, a few years ago, one of my books I wrote, I talked about some of the diseases that come across the southern border. There's something called the virus of pain. Can you imagine that? It's got a funny name, which I don't remember the exact name, but it's called the virus of pain. That's one of many diseases that have come across our border, and we have to fight because the border, the very minimum, everybody who comes across should be checked for their health. They should also be checked for a lot of other things, too, like they're not drug dealers, for example. But these people, these leftists who want anybody and their brother come across the border, that's just insanity.
We're looking at the likes of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Presley, Ilhan Omar, Schumer, Pelosi, and others that are playing politics with this situation. But I think that you have been outspoken and very a champion of saying that they're going to lose in the long run and possibly destroy their careers. Do you still feel that way?
Oh, absolutely. I think the House is going to turn back Republican, plus it's not only going to be Republican, it's not going to be like the Republicans in the past. Those rhinos, the Republicans in name only, they retired, they resigned. They've gotten out of the House pretty much, and the House has been clean. We're going to have conservatives getting in there who believe in the Constitution. We're going to take the House back this year. Trump is going to be campaigning hard to get that. We're going to pick up another one or two conservatives in the Senate. We're going to have a much better Congress, and next year is going to be a boom year because we're going to get rid of more regulations, and Trump has wanted a middle-class tax cut for about 3 years now that he couldn't get passed with the rhinos for a while and then with these Democrat socialists for a while. But next year with a new Congress that's more conservative, we're going to have a great country. Greater than before.
I want you to quickly respond, if you would, please, about, and I really, I said earlier this morning, I respect President Trump for what he is saying to the World Health Organization. And Wheels, there's a tremendous amount of feedback all of a sudden, please. He told the World Health Organization that he is very much considering canceling their funding of over $2 billion a year because of their close ties to China. And what are your thoughts on this?
Absolutely. I think we should pull the plug on that organization. They're just basically supporting the Chinese country and the Chinese communists. And by the way, the Chinese don't give as much money to the WHO as we do. We give the bulk of their support.
That's right.
And you know what? What have they done with it? They did everything to support China and cover up that virus, And if they hadn't covered it up, if they had done their job, a lot of people in this country wouldn't be sick, I think. So I don't think they deserve $1 from us.
Absolutely. You put out an information sheet that said American Restart Day, hopefully by May 1st. Do you still stand behind that?
Absolutely. You bet. I think, first of all, I think the COVID virus is not as bad as we thought. The models keep dealing with the reality that they've been overcounting, so the models keep going down. There's also an indication that there were 761,000 Chinese who came into this country before Trump was shutting down the border in January. So the virus may have been here, and many people in different parts may already have some immunity, so it's not as serious. We also know that there's a drug, an anti-malarial drug called hydroxychloroquine, and also something called Zithromax Z-Pak drug. Those two drugs together seem to cure it for a lot of people. In fact, this is amazing, but there's a Democrat state legislature person in Michigan who is dying from this terrible virus. It is a bad virus if you get sick and get it bad. Most people don't. But she was dying, and she heard Trump talk about these drugs, so she asked her husband to talk to her doctor. Her doctor gave her the drugs, and you know what? She's back to normal. And last night, Trump said, hey, I may have picked up another road.
Dr. Lamero, you are a breath of fresh air every time you're on my program. And, of course, folks, I urge you to get his latest book, Real World Socialism, Spiritual, Moral, and Economic Bankruptcy, sold by Using False Hopes and Deceit, Dr. Gerard Lamero. God bless you and stay well. Thank you, my dear friend.
God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you very much. I always look forward to having that gentleman on my program. He's one of my very favorite guests. Want to remind you, too, about our friends over at Patterson's Electronics. Oh, my. They've got everything for you. I mean, they've got items that I couldn't even begin to tell you what they are or how they work. You better get in there. I mean, whether it's the monster cables or whether you're talking about all your electronic needs with your car stereos and audio systems and your surveillance cameras and all your complete sound systems and television sets from Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs. Oh, my goodness. They're busy. And they're serving you, Curtis and Lorena, at Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. The number to call, 678-6997. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, closed on Sundays. Of course, Patterson's Electronics. And I also want to remind you about our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. They are fighting. They're fighting just like you are. And they absolutely are not going to quit. They're not going to close their doors. They say call to make an appointment between 9 and 4 during the days, and they're going to open the doors and say, come on in and get the great home furnishings that you need. All the furniture, all the mattresses, everything. They've got those great medical lift chairs, those recliners. They've got all the love seats. They've got all the recliners. They've got all the sofas, all the carpeting, everything at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. And I urge you to call 878-2341. I'll say the number again, 878-2341. Talk to Jeff and the staff, and they will serve you. They're going to make it so they can serve you and keep continuing to serve you at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Right now, we'll send it back over to Wheels. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Thank you very much and welcome back to our last half hour. And this is the half hour that I have told you about for over a week and a half. And most churches are closed. And most celebrations of Easter at those churches are closed, and for the Holy Week, the Maundy Thursday ceremonies on Thursday night, of course Good Friday on Friday, and then the Easter services on Sunday. Churches will not be celebrating this year. That's very unfortunate. So therefore I called and asked Pastor Paul Thompson of the Eastside Baptist Church in Twin Falls to come on my program and give us, all of us, the real true meaning of the resurrection and the rebirth at this particular time of the year of Easter. Good morning, Pastor Thompson. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Zeb. And by the grace of God, I'm doing well. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm humbled by God's grace and His mercy in my life, and always thankful to be on your show, and I pray that you guys are doing well as well, Zeb.
We are, and I am so thankful to have you and perhaps the Easter message on my program for those that are shut-ins, those that, like my wife and I, really can't go anywhere or do anything. So I'm basically going to turn this over to you. I'll occasionally ask questions in our 22 minutes this morning, but Pastor Thompson, share with us more about the Easter message.
Hey, yeah, thank you, Zeb, and to the listener who's listening right now, may the peace of God rule in your heart and in your mind today. And you know, while we do have an unprecedented, unusual, many might even say an awkward time right now, where so many things are just out of reach for us to have access to or to participate in, is certainly no position for the believer to be separated from the glory of God. And you know, I want to take our attention to what is classically called the servant song out of the book of Isaiah. It's in the 52nd chapter, verses 13, 14, and 15, and then the entire 53rd chapter. And this is technically actually the fourth of four servant songs recorded in the book of Isaiah that are very explicitly prophetic language about Jesus the Christ. So we have songs about his birth, songs about his life, and two songs at least that deal with the suffering or that march to the cross on what we in the modern world will call Good Friday. And so this is a 5-stanza song, and it's basically broken down in our modern English translations. 3 verses of the text marks 1 stanza of the song. So there's actually 5 stanzas of the song, and I just want to read the entire servant song and then come back and make a few comments about them, and may the listener be pleased and grateful, and if the Spirit of God would so move in the listener's ears today and in his life or her heart, that she may turn to Christ and be saved by the proclamation of this glorious word. So this is Isaiah chapter 53, and I begin the reading in the 13th verse. So there are, 12, 13, 14, 15 verses total. So I beg the listener's mercy while you listen to me read the text. Let me read it. This is the Word of God, and it says this: Behold, my servant will prosper, and he will be high and lifted up and greatly exalted. Yet as many were astonished at you, my people, so his appearance was marred more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men. Thus he will sprinkle many nations. Kings will shut their mouths on account of him. And for what he had not been told them, they will see. And what they had not heard, they will understand. This is the second stanza, chapter 53. It reads in this manner: Who has believed our message? And whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he grew up before him like a tender shoot, like a root out of the parched ground. He has no stately form or majesty that we should look upon him, nor appearance that we should be attracted to him. He was despised and forsaken of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And like one from whom men hid their face, he was despised, and we did not esteem him. Verse 4, the third stanza, says, surely our griefs he himself bore, and our sorrows he carried. Yet we ourselves esteemed him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. And he was pierced through for our transgressions, and he was crushed for our iniquities. For the chastening of our well-being fell upon him, and by his scourging we are healed. All of us, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us have turned to his own way. But the Lord has caused the iniquity of us all to fall on him. Here's the fourth stanza. Starts with the 7th verse. See, he was oppressed and was afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. Like a lamb that is led to slaughter, and like a sheep that is silent before its shearers, so he did not open his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away. And as for his generation, who considered that he was cut off out of the land of the living, for the transgression of my people, to whom the stroke was due. His grave was assigned with wicked men, yet he was with a rich man in his death, because he had done no violence, nor was there any deceit in his mouth. And then the final stanza begins in the 10th verse. So but the Lord was pleased to crush him, putting him to grief. If he would render himself as a guilt offering, he will see his offspring. He will prolong his days, and the good pleasure of the Lord will prosper in his hand. And as a result of the anguish of his soul, he will see it and be satisfied. By his knowledge and the righteous one, my servant, will justify the many, as he will bear their iniquities. Therefore, I will allot him a portion with the great, and he will divide the booty with the strong, because he poured out on himself to death, and was numbered with the transgressors. Yet he himself bore the sin of many, and interceded for the transgressors. This is the Word of God we've just listened to. And God, hundreds of years before the birth of Christ, and then those 33 years of his public life here in the flesh, this prophetic word by the prophet Isaiah lays out precisely what Jesus came to do, why he came to do it, and then even points to the way in which he does it. And it is something that shows and exposes two things. One, it shows us the glory of God. It shows us that God himself knows the plight of man is in such a desperate position that man cannot save himself. And so God, as the Word of God describes to us and announces to us, that even before the foundations of the earth were even established, God made this plan to redeem sinners. And this plan is that his only begotten Son, the Lord Jesus Christ, as the Bible describes him as God himself, that triune almighty God, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, this biblical God, he sends his only begotten Son to do for man what man could not do for himself. And this song actually exposes that. It shows that God is glorious, he's righteous, he's holy, and it shows that man is full of sin, he's full of vileness, he's full of despite against God, he's an enemy of God. And this song describes as that the prophet Isaiah would announce to the people that there is a way in which man can be made right with God, and that is through the Lord Jesus Christ. Now, by the aid of the New Testament, so let me back up and say this song has these 5 stanzas. The way most songs work out, you have a stanza, and a chorus and a stanza and the chorus again. And so there would be a chorus in between each one of these stanzas. And I think we can look at the song, the servant song of Isaiah, in the same way, that after each stanza we could go and read the entire New Testament. So I would say the New Testament is the chorus. These stanzas describe the very details of what Christ would do, why he would have to do it, and how he would do it for us. And then we have the New Testament that is this big anthem of a chorus that just describes, and it lays out historically exactly what Jesus did. And so that's what we as Bible-believing, born-again believers, this is why this week is so significant for us, because it's laying out this moment in time when God split eternity. He split that separation between fallen man and righteous God, and he made a way for man to transcend into that eternal presence with God by the death, the burial, and the resurrection of Christ. And this song lays out some of the richest doctrinal, theological elements of the Bible. Why does God even need to do it like this? Why can't he do it another way? Well, it's because the Bible shows us that, as again the New Testament, the chorus of each of these stanzas in the book of Romans says that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. And it also tells us that the wages of sin is death. So by these absolutes, by these standards that God has fixed, it shows us that there is something that is describing the plight of man that man cannot do for himself, and so God comes and does this for him. And so the requirement is for the sin that I've committed, the sin that the listener has committed, the requirement for that is death. And this would have to be a death that would satisfy or justify the sin that I've committed against God. And because I'm an unrighteous soul, I don't have righteousness by myself, just as the listener would hear right now. We all know that God's made us this way. We know that we've sinned against God. And so as a result of that, our death does not satisfy, it doesn't justify the sin that we've committed. And so a righteous one is going to have to die in our place. And that's what Jesus does for us, is God sends his only begotten, his righteous, his very essence, his very God of very God, as the New Testament again would belt out that anthem of a chorus, that God himself in his righteousness would come and he would do what the Levitical law described by a substitute, by a scapegoat. That's where we get that phrase or that term of a scapegoat. There's a necessary transfer of the sin that man has committed that has to be given to the scapegoat. And Jesus is that scapegoat. He is the last time that man will have to have a sacrifice made on his behalf. Happens on what we'll call Good Friday. That's why we call it a Good Friday, because it's the last time that we have to have a sacrifice made for our sins. And it's a satisfied sacrifice. It's a justified, it's a sufficient sacrifice. So Jesus, obedient to the Father, comes and he becomes, the technical term is he is essentially doing what's called a penal substitution. The absolute requirement of the law that there has to be a transfer of my sin onto the substitute, the Lord Jesus Christ, and that's what the servant song is describing to us. And so it transfers. You see it especially in verses 4, 5, and 6 of that servant song, that this penal substitution, that all of our griefs Christ bore for us. Our sorrows, he's carried them away, and yet we esteemed him stricken, the text says, and smitten of God. He's afflicted. So we see that God's the one who's doing this. He's taken our sins and he's placed them on the substitute, the the sufficient substitute. And he has paid for, through Christ's death, the sin that I could not pay for myself. And so then there's another really important doctrine of Scripture, and that's the doctrine of imputation, where so this is penal substitution, is where there has to be one that my sin is substituted over. And that's technically what the writer of Romans, the Apostle Paul, would call imputation. And so my sin is transferred to Christ, and he bears them on the cross, and he suffers, and all the way to death he must go. And then there's another beautiful thing that happens, and that is the transfer, the imputation of God's righteousness into me. For the first time, the listener, for the first time, we can become righteous is whenever God deposits, he transfers his righteousness from his only begotten Son, who's died on the cross for our sins. At that moment of his death and his burial and his resurrection, there is a transfer of his righteousness upon the soul of man. And we see that the Bible tells us that there is none righteous, no one, except the Lord himself. And so the only way that man can be seen as righteous is for God to transfer the righteousness of his Son. That's what happens on the cross, in his death. The shedding of his blood, it covers our sins, and it transfers righteousness. So we're washed white as snow. We're made clean. We're righteous. So that's what happens on that cross. And then, of course, everything from Friday on is nothing but glorious, nothing but triumphant, nothing but a proving of the fact that unless Christ resurrects from the grave, as the Scriptures will tell us, that if this doesn't happen, the last chapter of the book of Romans, then men who believe in the death of Christ, who believe that Jesus is the Son of God, if he doesn't raise from the grave, as the Scriptures tell us that he does, then we are the most pitiful people in the world to have believed such a thing. Because if the death of Christ is not necessary for man to be made right with God, then this is the most foolish thing that could ever have happened, for God to take the sin of man and put it upon his own Son. It means if there's another way for man to be made right with God, then it's completely foolish that God would strike his Son as he did on Calvary. And so it shows us here that the extremity of what God did by taking the sin that I've committed and laying them upon his only begotten Son, that obviously there is no other hope for me but through Jesus Christ.
Paul,
that's the message in a nutshell of the Easter message. And listen, where it appears churches are closed, I can certainly say this: I'm meeting every Sunday at our church, and we don't lock the doors. And I'm going to guess there are a lot of churches around the valley that are doing the same thing. So I would encourage the listener today that if you know of a church in your community that's there, and you might pull up and not see any cars in the parking lot. That might be a rare thing to see, but I would say go check that doorknob, walk in that place, and maybe there's a preacher there who's preaching this very song, this very glorious message of Easter, the resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ. I know that's what we'll be doing at our place, even though everyone thinks that churches are closed. The doors at Eastside Baptist Church will not be locked, and the preacher will preach, and the people will sing, and the people will rejoice because of the glory of the Lord Jesus Christ. And so, Zeb, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have come by and share this story of good news. And I'm thankful for the opportunity. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord bless your family. May the Lord bless the listener that's hearing today, perhaps for the first time, hearing the news of the gospel. And you might rejoice, you might leap for joy that you know, the Bible's very clear on this. We know that we're sinners. And our only hope today is Jesus Christ.
Amen.
So
Amen.
There is so much much uncertainty of this world. Turn to Christ and be saved.
Pastor Paul Thompson, I want to say thank you so much for being on my program this morning. I wished I had more time, but the clock is ticking for this last half hour. And I want to extend to you and your church and all the people connected to your services and my audience a very happy Easter in all the thought, word, and deed. Thank you so much.
Amen. Thank you, Zeb, and happy Resurrection Day for you and your listeners as well.
God bless you. Thank you very much, Pastor Paul Thompson. Ladies and gentlemen, I know many of you are not going to be able to go to an Easter service, but we wanted to bring you the message here on the program this morning, and he did very well. Thank you, Pastor Thompson. Right now, I also want to urge you to remember our friends at, of course, Edith's Cafe. They are doing so much to serve the truck drivers out of 2500 Washington Street in Burley, right across from Fabrical, and they've got what they call the picnic table food truck over there, and believe me, they're serving all the truckers with the big rigs coming across that area so that they can make sure they've got the best of goods and the best of food from Edith's Cafe. Believe me, they're located with their headquarters at 144 East Highway 81 in Burley with a delicious menu, and they want to remind everybody, give thanks this Easter weekend for all the people in this fruit service business that are trying to serve you and your family to the utmost. Again, our thank yous go out to Edith's Cafe and all they're doing to serve you. Our weather forecast, we've got to get right to it, and the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, and the telephone number to call, 324-7657, and you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Don Scarrow and the crew wishing you and yours a happy Easter weekend. And right now, here's the weather with Scotty.
Catching a pretty nice break in the weather. Good morning with your 7th Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron. For today, going to be patchy fog this morning, burning off this afternoon for sunny skies, a high of 65. Clear for tonight with a low of 33. Tomorrow is going to be beautiful. Sunshine and 70. For tomorrow night, clear with a low of 37. Friday, sunny and a high of 68. Friday night, mostly clear with a low of 40. Then for Saturday, sunshine, then sunny, a little bit breezy and a high of 61. That's your 7th Ranch weather forecast. Have an amazing day.
Thank you, Scotty. Appreciate you filling in this morning. And the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats. Don and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. Scarrows Meats in Jerome, changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Deanne and I want to wish you and yours a very happy Easter weekend. I know things are quite a bit changed this Easter weekend. Not the way we want it, but we will do all we can to celebrate and commemorate the real meaning of Easter. Tomorrow, because Deanne and I have some doctor's appointments to take care of, I will not be on the air tomorrow. The lovely Sharon Wilmot is going to be filling in for me, and please call and help her on the program. We'll be back next Monday at 8:06 right here at Zeb at the Ranch, where we always say the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the 4 words that mean the most, in God we trust. Take care. God bless. Stay well. We'll see you Monday at 8:06.